Today, I want to spend just a few minutes talking about why it can be so hard to lose weight. That's probably one of the biggest complaints that I hear working with people all over the country is, why can't I lose weight? I'm doing the things I should be doing and I should lose weight. And the first question I have is, what does your insulin sensitivity look like? The job of insulin is to bring down your blood sugar. And when you have a lot of it, you can't lose weight. Let me map this out. And I draw this picture in my office when I'm working with people and reviewing their labs, because I think it's really helpful. Okay, so the first thing we look at is your blood sugar. We get a one-time snapshot of where your blood sugar is. Ideally, we want this to be no lower than 80 and no higher than about 115. So we've got a really tight window here, right? Between 80 and 115. And we want, no matter what we're doing, this is ideal, right? But that's not what's happening to most people. Most people, what happens is they eat something that's high in carbohydrate, or they eat too much of something, or whatever the case might be, their blood sugar goes way up. And when it goes way up like this, then it invokes an insulin response. Insulin, its job, as I said earlier, is to bring down blood sugar. So the more blood sugar we have, the more insulin we need to bring it down. Now, also what happens is over time, if we keep doing this, we keep spiking our blood sugar, then our insulin starts to not be as sensitive anymore. It's like the guy who cried wolf, and like the insulin's like, really, again, here we go again with this, and it becomes resistant. Now, your insulin you can become resistant to insulin as you get older. If you're a female, listen up, if you're in the menopausal space, like the 45 to 55-year-old space, as estrogen starts to tail off in menopause, and then when you go through menopause, it really lowers down, insulin is less sensitive without all that estrogen. So what that means is you cannot eat and tolerate as many carbohydrates when you're close to menopause and after you've gone through menopause as you could when you were, say, 25. But you already knew that, because who doesn't, right? Your body is not the same body at 50 as it was at 25 for so many reasons. But that's one of them. Your insulin, huge issue with weight loss. So what happens when we spike this blood sugar? Well, the first thing that happens is insulin gets on the job, and it says, can I send this sugar anywhere? Is this guy or girl running or lifting heavy weights or something that they need a bunch more sugar? I can send it to the working muscles. Okay, nope, because most of the time we're not doing those things like all the time. So what happens is we go, okay, let's save some of this for later. We might need it later. And we save it in our muscle cells, and we save it in our liver. Here's our liver. This is a really ugly looking liver, but we'll pretend that's our liver. And we store it in here. It's called glycogen. That's what it's called when we store it in our liver and in our muscle cells. And we can store so much of that in our liver and our muscle cells, and then we can't fit any more of it in there. That's when it really becomes a problem. What then happens is we turn glucose, the extra glucose that we have, the insulin is having to bring this down. And when it can't fit anymore in here, then we create triglycerides. I'll just call them trigs on here for short. We create triglycerides. And triglycerides are like sugar fats, is really what they are. That's a good nickname for them. And unfortunately, they have to be bubble wrapped in fat cells. So we have to come along and we have to bubble wrap these triglycerides in a fat cell. Well, if we already have fat cells, we use the ones we have. The problem is, if we have a lot of these triglycerides that get created, then we have to make new fat cells. Our body has to create new fat cells to stuff the triglycerides in there. So that is why you want to watch. There's a couple of things we look at what somebody's insulin is doing, right? That's huge on lab work and functionally evaluating that. Then we look at their triglycerides. What are those doing? It's not there's just this idea of, oh, if these are high, we've got a risk for heart disease. Yes, that might be true, but really what we're saying is we're creating so much extra sugar that we have to create not only can we not stuff it in any more of these liver and muscle cells, now we have to create triglycerides, and we have to shove them in fat cells. And that's why, so then we create more fat cells. And those fat cells never get destroyed. Even if you lose a bunch of weight, you still have those extra fat cells hanging around, which explains why, say you have lost a bunch of weight and then you fall back into some poor eating habits, your activity level goes down, you just, digress back to old habits. It's easier to put on weight that second time. You already got these fat cells. It's really easy to stick some triglycerides in them. So anyway, I hope that is a good picture of why it is so important to understand what's going on with your insulin. Is this whole thing happening with you? If it is, it's going to be really hard for you to lose weight until you get this under control. And that's what I step people through all the time. And it starts with learning whether or not this applies to you, and then we unpack it and say, what do we have to do about it? So I hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching.